It was unusual for me to be working on a Saturday. The only reason I was in Lancaster today was to placate a special customer. I work for a manufacturing company called Pytone. We make telephones. Not your usual phones, but industrial phones that will work in abnormal or dangerous surroundings. They are sturdy and explosion-proof. Our biggest customers are refineries, factories, oil platforms, and similar harsh environmental operations. Today, I had to solve a small problem at a large grain elevator, and I was already done. I was topping off the gas tank before starting back to Reading when I had a pleasant surprise. "Terry Harrison, what are you doing down here today?" It was Monica Whitmer, an old family friend. Monica and her husband Brian used to live just outside of Reading, and we had socialized on several occasions. It had been a while, and it was good to see her. "Hi, Monica. Just here for half a day doing a little work in Mannheim. How have you guys been?" We made small talk for about 10 minutes, and I ended up following her to their house for a family barbecue. Monica was from the coal regions, and Brian and his family were from Lancaster. Most of the people at the gathering were Brian's relatives. I called my wife, Darcy, to tell her some old friends waylaid me. She and Monica then spent 10 minutes chatting. I felt better letting my wife know I was delayed. It was a non-eventful gathering except for one small thing. I was introduced to Brian's father and 2 brothers, as well as a half-dozen offspring. Each one of them had the same smile. The canine tooth on the right side of their mouth protruded outward, and when any of the men or children smiled, their lips would curl up around the tooth in a pixie-like grin. My curiosity got the better of me. "Monica, I need a little help here." "Do you need more beef or more ribs?" No, I'm fine. I was just wondering about the unique smile that all the kids have, and also Brian and his brothers." "Oh, you noticed. It's hard not to, especially when you have a whole group of them together. It is a gene thing. Brian, his brothers, and their father all have the funny little tooth in the front. They pass it on to their kids, and their kids will pass it on to their kids. It is sort of cute, don't you think?" I smiled and let her get back to her hosting duties. I had a lot of time to think on the drive back to Reading. Darcy and I had been married for 20 years. I met her in college, and we seemed to click. A few years later, I started work with Pytone and have been with them for almost 19 years. We have 2 18-year-old twin sons, Ron and Rob, who start Penn State in the fall, and a cute little daughter named Jenny, who is 14. We were counting on the boys getting student loans and grants to pay for their college, and hoped Jenny would do the same. Darcy and I had a good life, a comfortable house, and 2 nice cars. I would have vested rights in the company pension plan in 2 years, and we had a nice retirement account set up. The company had asked me to relocate several times over the years, but Darcy was dead set against it. Other than that, we got along fine. Our intimate life was good, if not exciting, and there seemed to be no problems in our marriage or relationship until now. Darcy had a light supper ready because she knew I would not be able to eat much after the barbecue. She asked how everyone was and expressed her regrets for not being there. Jenny sat across the table eating quietly. The boys were off somewhere doing whatever it was that boys their age did. Everything was okay until Jenny looked up and smiled. Her right lip curled over her protruding tooth, and she looked like a little pixie. I lost my appetite completely and excused myself from the table. There was no doubt in my mind that Jenny was Brian's daughter. It was about the time that Darcy got pregnant with Jenny that our intimate life and our relationship in general started to cool down. Darcy never denied me intimacy, but the spark and the passion were missing. I assumed it was a natural thing and didn't dwell on it too much. I had gotten used to the mediocre lovemaking and expected it would stay that way for the rest of our lives. I wanted more and would have enjoyed more, but did not want to become a nag about it. Now it all became clear on a different level. From her frequent trips to Lancaster over the past 15 years, I could only conclude that the affair was ongoing. I do not have a confrontational nature, but I felt I would have to mention it to Darcy, and I was hoping I could do it in a civilized manner. Hundreds of other questions started to form in my mind, and by bedtime I was a complete wreck. I told Darcy I wasn't feeling well from all the greasy food and slept on the sofa that night. I spent the whole next day in the garage working on unnecessary projects that I had let go for too long. I was trying to kill time and think. The possibilities were endless. I had to take some action, and it had to result in some sort of satisfaction. I wasn't prone to revenge, but I did want to limit any chance that my actions would somehow benefit Darcy and her lover. My first consideration was taking care of the boys. Even though Jenny was not mine, I still loved her and didn't want to do anything to hurt her. While I didn't want to hurt Darcy, I also wanted to make sure I didn't end up supporting her and Brian for the rest of my life. I knew for a fact that I didn't want to spend any more time with Darcy than I had to. Her reaction at the time of the confrontation would probably determine what I would be doing in the next few days. I decided the best time would be after Sunday supper. Darcy was a pretty good cook, and supper that night was great as usual. Ron and Rod excused themselves before dessert to go see some friends. Jenny finished her dessert, and after she went to the living room, it was just Darcy and I sitting with coffee. "Something has been on your mind all day, Terry? Want to tell me what it is?" I guess I was being a little obvious with my brooding. I was just wondering how long we were going to wait before we told Jenny who her real father was. I didn't know how else to bring it up. There was a long pause at the other end of the table, followed by a deep sigh. "It is amazing how long it took you to figure it out." She remained stoic as her eyes went from the middle of the table up to mine. "I don't think she has to know until she is at least 18, or she has some sort of medical problem where it becomes necessary. Everything is fine just as it is. We can't accomplish anything by telling her now." "Is that fair?" I asked. "Fair to who? A stable family life is important to a girl her age. She doesn't need to know. I'll tell her when the time comes. For now, just keep your mouth shut." I was amazed. I had just told my wife that I was aware of her infidelity, and she ended up dominating the conversation and making demands on me. In my mind, she was supposed to be apologetic and sorry for what she had done, but that is not how it was going. She was acting as if she did nothing wrong, and everything was going to continue as it was, whether I liked it or not. My first reaction was to jump down her throat, but it was about that time that I saw a slight movement in the hallway by the dining room. Jenny had been listening to our conversation. As I paused, I could hear her scurrying away. I decided to lay back and take a calm approach. "Should we consider a divorce?" "I just said it was important to maintain a stable family environment for a few more years. A divorce is out of the question. What would Jenny and I do if we separated? I think it would be better to wait a while until she is older and everything is stable financially." Things suddenly became clearer. In 2 years, I would have vested rights in the company retirement fund. In addition to part of my salary, Darcy would also be entitled to part of my retirement plan when she turned 65. The cheating woman was planning ahead, way ahead. I had a lot of thinking to do now. I sat still, saying nothing. At least we don't have to endure the pity intimacy anymore. That is a relief. "What are you talking about?" "For the last 15 years, I have been having intimacy with you whenever you wanted it, so that you would not become suspicious. It went on a lot longer than I thought it would because you were so damn slow in figuring it out. At least that is all over now. We don't have to pretend anymore. I will probably be taking more trips to Lancaster from now on also." I sat for a few more minutes and neither of us said anything. "I'll move my stuff in the guest room while you and Jenny do the dishes. I don't want to impose on you any more than I have to." "You're acting like a spoiled brat, Terry. We can share the same bedroom without having intimacy. It is better for the kids." I didn't reply. The guest room had a sofa bed that was uncomfortable as hell, but I didn't have to sleep with the cheating woman anymore. I was up and out of the house before anybody else had even stirred. I didn't want to have to answer any questions about the sleeping arrangements with the kids. After grabbing a quick dinner breakfast, I headed for work. I was lying awake most of the night making plans. It would be a busy day. My bosses at Pie Tone were more than happy to talk to me. I spent the entire morning adjusting and readjusting arrangements before cleaning out my desk and leaving for lunch. As I was finishing off a large steak sandwich, I realized that I was smiling to myself like an idiot. Things were off to a good start. I spent the rest of the afternoon at the bank, my insurance agent's office, and job hunting. I got home at about 3, which was unusual for me. "What the hell are you doing home so early?" "I quit my job." "What? You love that job. Why in the world would you quit?" She paused for a second, waiting for a reply that didn't come. "Are you still upset about last night?" "No, I just decided I was working too hard and wanted a change. I got a new job at DS Brown starting tomorrow." "The feed mill? What the hell are you going to be doing working at a feed mill?" "Loading and loading trucks and freight cars. No hassles and no responsibilities. I am hoping to lose a little weight also." "That's the stupidest thing I ever heard of. How are we going to pay for the boys' college? That job can't pay more than minimum wage. I don't understand what got into your head. What happened to your pension?" "Gone. I needed 20 years to lock it in and didn't have it." "Did you get severance pay? How about your vacation pay and sick leave?" No, and no. In order to get accrued sick leave or vacation pay, you have to give 60 days notice. You only get severance pay when they lay you off. I didn't give notice, just quit and walked out. "What about the boys' college?" she asked. "No problem. The bank will give us a second mortgage and we can get enough to prepay 4 years for both of them. They can still apply for some grants or loans if they have to." "And just how do we make the 2 house payments?" "I figure with the boys gone, the house will be too big for us anyhow, so we will probably end up selling it." "You have lost your mind." Darcy shook her head in disbelief at what I had done and walked away. A sense of pride and accomplishment overwhelmed me. My plan was underway. For the next 2 months, things got worse between Darcy and me. My relationship with Jenny, however, improved. Jenny had become a perfect little daughter, even though she wasn't mine. I wasn't really sure how much she overheard the conversation Darcy and I had. The second mortgage on the house went through with no problem, mainly because I had it all pre-arranged. Every dollar went straight to Penn State to prepay tuition for Ron and Rob. We could no longer afford the mortgage payments, so the house went on the market. I quietly sold off my gun and coin collection and stashed the money away in a safe place. I traded in my BMW for a used Ford pickup so I would have no payments. Darcy and Jenny kept their cell phones, but I got rid of mine and told the boys to get their own if they wanted them. I was barely making enough to pay the utilities and buy food. We had to let the house payments slide until it sold. The bank understood. After the house sold, we still cleared about $30,000. I took the entire check and bought Darcy a new Lincoln sedan. I had checked the Blue Book carefully, and that car had the highest depreciation rate possible. In 5 years, it would be worth next to nothing. I hope she enjoyed it. We rented a small house in a modest section of town. Darcy was making a lot more trips down to Lancaster. We never talked about it. I was trying to save a little off my salary, but it didn't amount to much. Darcy didn't know it, but all the life insurance policies had been canceled or cashed in. That money went into my secret account also. Jenny and I became very close. She was pulling away from Darcy and becoming more attached to me. I didn't mind, but it seemed to annoy Darcy. The boys were doing great in college. When Jenny's 16th birthday was coming up, I asked her if there was anything special she wanted. She whispered what she wanted in my ear and asked me not to tell Mom. Darcy was absolutely furious when she saw that Jenny had had her right canine pulled. Because of the way it was growing, the dentist was able to remove it without leaving a space where it should have been. There was a small sore spot on her gum where the tooth came out, but he said it would disappear with no scar. Jenny was thrilled. Darcy didn't talk to me for a week. I thought it was a great present. I lost almost 30 pounds at my feed mill job. If the light was just right, it looked like I actually had abs. I think I was fooling myself, but it felt good to dream. The first few weeks I was sore, but as time went on, it felt good to get some exercise. Jenny was in her last year of high school now, and we became best friends. It was her choice, not mine. But I was flattered. Like a bolt out of the blue, Darcy changed from sullen to happy. She was perky and bouncing around like a little girl. I put up with it for a few days and then cornered Jenny. "What the hell is going on with your mom?" "I'd rather not talk about it. She is being disgusting." "What does that mean?" I asked. "She found out 3 days ago that Monica Whitmer has cervical cancer. The doctors say she has less than 3 months to live. Ever since Mom found out, she has been giddy. I think it is horrible that she is getting so much pleasure out of somebody else's grief. Monica never did anything to her, and she is being a real b*** about it." "It's not nice to call your mother a b***," I replied. "I don't know what other name would be more appropriate right now." Unfortunately, I had to agree with Jenny. Now that I knew the source of her elation, I felt the same way Jenny did. It was a struggle to put up with her and keep my mouth shut at the same time. I worked a lot of overtime and spent much time away from the house. Sometimes Jenny would go with me, and we would just wander around the mall for hours. We didn't want to go home. 3 weeks later, I was served with divorce papers. Since Jenny was going to be 18 before it was final, child custody was not an issue. We no longer owned a home and had no money in the bank. Darcy did not ask for alimony or support. It was just a straightforward incompatibility divorce. I signed the papers as they were and quit my job at the feed mill. I stopped by the Pytone offices and then made a quick detour by the bank before going home. Darcy was not at home. Jenny said she went to Lancaster to console Monica for a few days. We both snickered a little at that. I gave Jenny an envelope with $10,000 in it. I apologized that it wasn't more, but promised to send some at a later date. I explained that I had to leave and that she would be fine with her mother. She was not happy, but helped me pack the truck anyway. Darcy could take care of whatever had to be done about the house after I was gone. I had no idea what Jenny's plans were after high school. Jenny volunteered to tell the twins about the separation, but she said she could not be unbiased. 6 weeks after I left, Monica Whitmer died. My friend Tom Kalita lived in a double-wide modular home by the Ocala National Forest near Silver Springs, Florida. He actually lived in Moss Bluff, but no one has ever heard of that. He retired from the Air Force, and he and his wife, Wanda, spent most of their time fishing and going to yard sales. Tom had been after me for several years to come down and visit. It was nice to have a place to go to. I was always fascinated by the fishing shows on TV, where they would catch monster fish using ridiculous lures. Tom spent the next few weeks proving it was real. He taught me how to scoot a jiggerbug over the top of the lily pads. It was exhilarating to see the large mouths swoop out of the water after the annoying intruders. It was fun for the first few months, but then it started to get old. I had heard nothing from home, mainly because no one knew where I was. I was counting the days till the divorce would be final. Tom and Wanda were fully aware of what was going on and were very supportive. The day after the divorce was to be final, Tom and Wanda were going to drive me to the international airport in Orlando. I wasn't taking much, so packing was no problem. I left Tom the Ford pickup as a thank you for putting up with me. That was when things took a strange turn. Before we could get out of the driveway, a black SUV pulled in behind us. Tom had no idea who they were. Clyde Green introduced himself and his friend, Dave Fielding, as FBI agents. "We are looking for Terry Harrison. Can you help us out?" Agent Green appeared to be the spokesman. I didn't say anything, but just raised my hand slightly. "Mr. Harrison, we need a few minutes of your time. Can you help us out?" "Of course. No problem." Tom and Wanda gave a small smile to the group and went inside the modular. We all sat down at the picnic table on the front patio. Clyde placed a small recorder and notebook on the table. "Tell us about your trip to Lisbon, Mr. Harrison." "No big deal. I am starting a new job, and the job is in Lisbon." "Why at this time?" "I am guessing that you probably know my divorce was final yesterday. I was delaying the new job until after the separation was final. Is there a problem with that? No, not at all, just trying verify a few things. Let's cut the crap. Why the hell are you here and what the hell do you want? I have a plane to catch and don't feel like playing cat and mouse. Get to the damn point. Green and Fielding looked at each other and shrugged. Green closed his notebook. Brian Whitmer was killed yesterday afternoon by a car bomb. Due to the circumstances surrounding your divorce, we decided it was important to talk to you. Wow, great timing. Well, as I assume you know, I have been here for the last 3 months, and Tom can verify that. I have no knowledge of explosives whatsoever, and to tell you the truth, I really had no reason to want Brian dead. As far as I was concerned, he was doing me a favor. I wanted to be rid of the cheating woman and couldn't wait for it to be over. I do not in any fashion resent his affair with my wife. I am a little pissed off that I spent 16 years paying to raise his child, but not enough to kill him. The timing, however, is very interesting. We know who planted the explosives, and we know it wasn't you. What we need to know is if you paid to have it done, and if you know the person who did it. Tell me who you think did it, and I'll tell you if I know him. Do you know a man named Tony Donato from Westchester? Don't know anyone by that name. In fact, I don't know anyone at all from Westchester. Did you guys check the phone logs and stuff? How do you know it was him? We couldn't find any records of phone calls to Mr. Donato from anywhere in Florida for the last month. The technique used to set the bomb was very crude but effective. Mr. Donato has used the same setup several times before, but we have never been able to nail him. What exactly are you trying to find out from me? I don't know anything about the bombing. I don't know Mr. Donato, and I couldn't care less if Brian Whitmer was alive or dead. Brian Whitmer was the reason my wife left me, and I thank him for that. No grudges on my part, honest. We just didn't want to leave any stones unturned. You understand, I am sure. Will you be available if we need to talk to you again? Most certainly. I will get in touch after I get settled in. 4 hours later, I was on my way to Lisbon. The plane flight gave me a lot of time to think about the past few years. My relationship with Darcy had been going downhill for a long time. I was too dense to realize she was having an affair. To make matters worse, I had raised her love child as my own. I actually loved Jenny and grew closer to her after I found out that she wasn't mine. Once I realized that Darcy was planning on getting some monetary benefit from my job and my retirement, I decided to take steps to stop it. Pytone was more than happy to suspend my employment for a few years if I agreed to take over the new European operation. The timing was perfect for the company and me. I had not counted on Brian's wife dying, but Jenny was getting close to finishing school anyhow. My new post as VP of Continental Operations came with a substantial pay increase, a great benefits package, and a reinstatement of my old retirement plan. I had a small nest egg secretly stashed away, and all my affairs were in order. I felt bad about not doing more for Jenny, but I could make up for that later. Ron and Rob were finishing up at Penn State, and things were looking good for them. I was 3 months behind on the status of Darcy or Jenny, but was hoping to catch up after I got settled. The interview with the feds went faster and easier than I thought it would. I got to thinking that this was unusual, but didn't dwell on it too much. I more or less put in the back of my mind with a silent sign of relief. It did get me wondering what had happened, though. Getting settled in my new home was a lot easier than I thought it would be. I had underlings now, and they had pretty much taken care of things before my arrival. The house, or should I say, the villa they picked out for me, was spectacular. It was on a hillside with a beautiful view of the harbor. I was enrolled in language lessons twice a week and had plenty of time for private tutoring. As they say, life was good. For some reason or another, I had not contacted Jenny or Darcy. In fact, no one other than the company and the twins knew where I was. Ron went to grad school at Texas A&M, and Rob was now a second lieutenant in the Army, thanks to ROTC. They said Darcy was at the graduation, but no one discussed the separation or divorce. They readily agreed not to let her know of my location. They did not know where she was living or what she was doing and avoided asking. Jenny had told them about everything leading up to the divorce, and apparently she had not sugarcoated it. They seemed a little bitter toward their mother. I was proud of all 3 of my children. A year had passed and things were going well. It was early April when I got an invitation to Jenny's wedding. Unfortunately, it got to me about 2 weeks after the date of the ceremony. A small note inside expressed her desire for me to give her away if I got the invitation in time. I felt bad about not being there for her. It took about 2 hours for my assistant to get a current address and phone number for Frank and Jenny Conti in King of Prussia. "Hi, Jenny, it's Dad." "Dad, you got my invitation. I missed you so much." "Hey, slow down. Slow down. Everything is fine. I am just sorry that I didn't find out about the wedding till it was too late. I am really upset that I missed it." "It was wonderful. And, other than you not being there, everything went perfectly. I really wanted you to walk down the aisle with me. Frank is a great guy, Dad. You will like him. He is just finishing up an electrical engineering degree from Drexel, and hopefully he will be starting a new job in a couple months." Jenny was talking a mile a minute. She seemed as excited about talking to me as she did about the wedding. I was happy for her. "I didn't get you anything. What do you need or want?" "I need to see you and have you meet Frank. Can you come home?" "Not right now, but why don't you and Frank come visit with me? I have a wonderful place and plenty of room. I can arrange for tickets if you guys can figure out how to schedule it." "Okay, that sounds great. Can I call you back tomorrow? Give me a number. I love you, Daddy, and I miss you. I can't wait to see you. I will make this work, don't worry." Jenny's new husband was everything a father could wish for. He was good-looking, apparently, hard-working and ambitious. I liked him and felt that he would take good care of my daughter. Even though I knew Jenny was not mine, I loved her as my own. Jenny was more than willing to update me on her mother. Darcy found herself estranged from Brian's family after his death. They seemed to think that somehow she was responsible for what happened to Brian. There was also some talk about her affair with Brian behind Monica's back that made her an unwelcomed family guest. Without Brian, Darcy had no way to support herself. She was now working at Zinn's Diner by the Turnpike and living in a mobile home near Lancaster. While Jenny was dressing so we could go out for supper, I had some one-on-one time with Frank. "Any particular plans after college, Frank?" "Mainly a job. Jenny has agreed to relocate to wherever we have to go, so that makes it a lot easier. I'd rather find a job I like than be stuck in one I don't like at a particular location." I think I can relate to that. For 10 minutes, we talked about what he studied at Drexel and what type work he was looking for. Surprisingly, he spoke pretty good Italian. He picked it up from his grandparents, who lived with them while he was growing up in Philly. We were planning on opening a service office in Parma, and the only holdup was finding someone to man it that spoke the language. Experience wasn't as important as education and the ability to manage in this case. I was trying to figure out how to make it work while I listened to Frank talk. Having Jenny close enough that I could see her occasionally would be great. It was good being a boss. About that time, my beautiful Jenny joined us. We were casually chatting as we walked to the car. "Jenny, since I could not make it to the wedding, who did you get to give you away?" Frank's Uncle Anthony introduced Frank and I, and he was more than happy to do it. He gave us a very nice wedding present also. Frank sort of laughed at that. I never expected to get a $10,000 wedding gift from anyone, and getting it from Uncle Anthony was a real surprise. It's not like he has a real job or anything. I am not sure where he gets his money, but it sure was appreciated. Well, I must remember to send Uncle Anthony Conti a nice letter to thank him myself. Oh no, he is an uncle on my mother's side. His last name is Donato. I glanced over at Jenny, and she had a small grin on her face, like a pixie but without the tooth curl. And so, we've reached the end of today's story. Was it what you expected, or did it take a twist you didn't see coming? I'm curious to hear your thoughts. Share them in the comments below, and let's get a conversation going. If this story kept you hooked, make sure to hit that like button. And if you're new here or just haven't subscribed yet, now's the perfect time to join our community. I bring you fresh, captivating stories every day, so click that subscribe button and turn on notifications so you never miss out. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.